Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review Avengers Endgame. So I'm not even gonna try to list all fucking people that were in this movie because it has fucking everybody, that pretty much everybody that's been in the fucking MCU or has had a major role. But it's directed by the Russo brothers. So also directed Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War, and Avengers Endgame. This is the culmination of like everything that we've seen from MCU, all 22 movies. This is fucking insane. This movie is 3 hours. There's so much to unpack. So let's just fucking go. So we start off with Hawkeye. Oh, sorry. Spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, get your bitch ass out of here. All right. Anyway, so from the beginning, we see that Hawkeye loses his family to Thanos' snap, and they all get dusted away. Very sad, cold opening. It's sad, but something I was really expecting to happen. Not something sad enough to make me cry. This movie will eventually make me cry, but we'll get to that. And we see that Nebula and Tony Stark are together. They're in the ship to Milano, out in space. They're lost and shit, and they're running low on food. They're just trying to do repairs on the ship. Eventually, they are found by Captain Marvel, who brings them to Earth and brings them to Avengers HQ. And we got remaining members of the Avengers on the base, such as War Machine, and they also got Pepper Potts, but she's not an Avenger. They have a few characters over there, and not that many. Rocket Raccoon is there as well. But they bring Nebula and Tony Stark back. Tony is fucking malnourished and shit. He just starts mouthing off over at Captain America's there, and Black Widow just starts mouthing off, and he just like keeps collapsing and shit. Now, I'm definitely more on the side of Captain America, but I do see a lot of Iron Man's side, and it makes perfect sense for his character. I don't think there's any situation in this movie that you could say that's out of character for individual person that they're representing. I'm just like, with the evidence they showed for the previous movies, everything makes sense. So, now, Captain Marvel kind of joins the team, and they're like, okay, let's go get Thanos. We found where he is. He's hiding on this planet. He's tending to his garden and shit. Let's just get his bitch ass out, and we're going to drag him out and say, where are the stones, bitch? And we're going to, snap back, and everyone's going to come back, and everything's going to be happy. So they go over to see Thanos. Thanos is still fucked up and still burnt and shit. He looks like Two-Face and shit. And they're like, hey, man, where are these stones at, and where can we find them? Because we need to get our families back. And he goes into his whole spiel, and he just doesn't know what they're doing. And he's like, but he also mentions that I used the stones to destroy the stones, so no one else will be able to undo what I did. And everyone's like, fucking hell. I'm like, are you fucking serious? And Thor's like, headshot, bitch, and fucking Thanos's big ass purple head just starts tumbling on the ground, and immediately I'm like, yeah, fuck him. But then they're like, well, we can't get any more information, and we can't bring anybody back, and Thor's gonna feel bad for what he did, but all the reason he did it is because he felt like a failure because he didn't aim for the head. He thinks that the reason that everyone got snapped is because he wasn't able to stop him. He just stabbed him with Stormbreaker right here and shit. So that's very interesting. So we cut 5 years later, which I think is interesting. We have Rocket, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Captain America, War Machine. They're all like their own small Avengers group, and they've been running by themselves. Meanwhile, Hawkeye, he's become full ninja and shit, and he's like fucking chopping up cartel and fucking yakuza and shit. And Black Widow's like, you gotta stop this. There may be a way that we can bring everybody back, because a rat comes over like the fucking keypad of the fucking van that Louise owned. They put the quantum blah 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 box in the back of the van and shit. So Scott Lang's able to come back, and he finds out that everyone thinks he's dead, and finds his daughter, who's older now and shit. Which is a very good scene. They had big pillars in his town of how many people had died, probably just in that one city. And it looks very much like how they make the Vietnam Memorial look. It just big pillar with just names written. So I thought that was very sad and very cool at the same time. So they got Scott Lang. And he's like, okay, well, I got this quantum shit, blah, 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 blah. We can do a time heist. And they're like, bro, what? Are you talking about a time machine? He's like, no, I'm not talking about a time machine. Oh, okay, it's a time machine. And, there's a lot of questions. It's like, well, should they do this? Iron Man, even though he's suffered so much over these past movies, especially Infinity War, he's back with his wife, and he finds out that he has a daughter, and he's raising her, and he seems like he's living a pretty chill life. Nothing's in peril. He's just loving the two most important ladies in his life, and then he's like, he's offered to help try to do this time heist, and he's like, I don't want to fucking do this, man. Just fucking leave. I can't I can't get into this stupid superhero shit anymore. This is fucking taxing. All right, I can't. I was like, well, come on, man. Like, you're the smartest one. You're the only one that can really help us out here. And he's like, well, maybe there's another person. They go find Hulk, and Hulk, Bruce Banner and Hulk have been equal now. Like this Doc Green or Professor Hulk, whatever you want to call him, he has equal parts brawn as he does the brains. And like all the kids want to take selfies with him and shit, and he's eating in fucking diners, just giant fucking portions, because I guess that's what you gotta do when you're Hulk, man. So they get Hulk, and they try to go back in the past. It doesn't work too well. They just keep changing the age of Scott Lang when he keeps going through the quantum blah blah blah. Do you really need to know what the fuck it's called? No, it's a quantum blah 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 that allows people to manipulate time and space and shit. So eventually, Iron Man gives Captain America a shield, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to the past." And, another Avengers new member that they have is Nebula. Nebula is a key factor in this movie. I was not expecting that. But they go to different parts of the past where they can find the Infinity Stones before they were taken, or before they were misplaced or some shit, just so they can get their hands on it, and they can make their own Infinity Gauntlet using fucking Stark tech and shit. And one of them can snap, and they can bring back everybody that they lost, except for people that weren't dusted away. So fine, I got you there. Now, at some points, you're just like, wait, they can. How does that affect that movie and that movie, and what retcon? That can get real confusing real quick, and you're probably going to think about it well after you had seen this fucking movie. But they go to the events of the end of the Avengers movie, so they can get 3 stones: Loki's scepter, the Tesseract, and surprise, surprise, Ancient One is, in Sanctum Sanctorum, and she has the Eye of Agamotto, which has a time stone in it. we find out she was helping take down some of these aliens that were invading, and blowing shit up and all that. The Chitauri. So she was smoking them. We just didn't see it. So I'm like, okay, that's a cool retcon that does not contradict anything. It's just something that we did not see. Okay. So Hulk goes to talk to her. She pushes his astral form out, and he's still begging to have the stone. And he thought that Doctor Strange was already a sorcerer. He doesn't realize that he didn't, become a sorcerer until 2016. 2012, he was just still a surgeon, and his hands were fine and shit. He doesn't know that. I find it very interesting that the only character that would know that would possibly be alive is maybe Bear Mortal. Maybe he wasn't snapped away, but you can't trust him on this mission and shit. So he eventually gets the stone because he's able to convince her that it's the only way to make sure that people can be brought back. And she's like, okay. And it makes sense that she could see possible futures because she has the Eye of Agamotto like Doctor Strange had, and he was doing this shit and could see so many alternate universes. That comes into play with how eventual sacrifice of a very major character of this franchise goes out. So it's not just because he was very important. I'm talking about Iron Man. It's not just because he was very important to this and that, and that he had the first movie. It's much more than that. And I'm glad they didn't write themselves in the corner. Just we had to make a reason now. They set it up in a previous movie, and it makes sense. So we also have Rocket Raccoon and Thor. Thor is now tubby and schlubby and more alcoholic than ever before, and he wants to talk to his mother because mother's going to be killed because this is the events of Thor: The Dark World, and they get the ether from Jane Foster, and Thor also gets his old hammer back. So I guess this would retcon that Hela would have never destroyed it because we see it's okay in 5 years in the future from now. So, yeah. Anyway, don't ask me how all that works. I guess that means that Asgardians are alive. They weren't killed off by Thanos. There's a lot of things that as entertaining as things they do to go back, there's a lot of questions well, does this happen? Does that happen? And it's what does that change? Your mind might go scrambling if you try to think too hard. So we have those two getting the ether so they can have that stone. We also have Black Widow and Hawkeye going to see Red Skull at Vormir to get the Soul Stone, but they didn't know ahead of time that you have to sacrifice one that you love. And Black Widow's just kill me because this Avengers is the only family I've had, and no, I really don't have much of a purpose other than trying to protect other people. And Hawkeye's the things I've done, and I already lost my family, but she's you can go back to your family once we get them back. Once we get the snap back, and he's nah, and they both discuss of who they should kill because they both clearly love each other. I don't think it's romantic. It seems more like brother sisterhood type shit, and eventually. Black Widow was I'm jumping, or it was Hawkeye. But anyway, they both get hung over on the ledge, and they both got a cord. And Black Widow slips, and she dies. And now Hawkeye emerges from the water, much like Thanos did, and he has the Soul Stone. So now they can get all the fucking stones and shit. And they can use them. We bring them to the present day, and they are sad that Black Widow passed. especially Hulk, and it makes sense because he had a little bit of a romantic fling back in Age of Ultron. But Hulk is the one that puts on this glove. It becomes bigger, Iron Man's glove, and has the Infinity Stones. And he snaps because he's like, "Well, it has gamma radiation. I'm gonna be fine, and I'm probably the only one that's big and powerful enough to do it and probably not die." So he snaps. His arm becomes fried and shit, and another group of characters that go get a stone is War Machine and Nebula. That's very important because they go to the part where Star-Lord would get the stone when he was doing his Indiana Jones shit and getting the ball, and eventually I can't remember the character's name, but Digimon Hussein was just like, "Who?" And he said, "I'm Star-Lord, man." Is that moment from Guardians of the Galaxy. Old Nebula has like a weird interface because she's like a cyborg and shit with new Nebula, and they Thanos and Gamora and Ebony Maw get heat of this, and they get information, they get recording, and they're like, "Oh shit, what the fuck is going on?" And that gives Thanos a special interest. This is old Thanos, old Gamora, old Ebony Maw from 2014. This is not from the time in the future post snap. And Nebula will eventually switch places with old Nebula, and old Nebula will put the gold trim that was on her head and shit, and pretend to be the new version. And it's like, "Oh, okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did there." And old Nebula is still allegiant to her genocidal fucking father and shit. So when they show up back to present day, which is 5 years from now, Nebula is trying to figure a way to bring her dad back. So the Hulk is able to snap, brings people back, and then they have to have a big fight because Thanos comes in with his ship, and he comes to portal and shit, and he has fucking Chitauri and the Outriders, and he has like Ebony Maw and the other members that are part of his group, and he just starts fucking wailing on Thick Thor and fucking Captain America and Iron Man, and just like, wow, it was already nerdtastic at this point. Like, this is possibly the dorkiest fucking franchise film that has ever been fucking made. Like, this is fucking insane, and I thought that was crazy. And then Captain America holds fucking Mjolnir and just starts whooping ass, and I'm like, oh shit. And then he like gets half of his shield ripped off by Thanos, so I'm like, oh shit, Captain America, this is gonna be the end of him. But no, a bunch of fucking portals are opened up by Doctor Strange and his magical homies, and fucking Wakandans show up, Valkyrie and Asgardians show up, and this and that show up, and just everybody that they can possibly get, in Avengers that have been snapped away, that they can get possibly everybody. They even got fucking what was it, Howard the Duck in a freeze frame. I'm just like, yo, what the fuck, bro? It's just like, there's so much fucking going on, and they all fucking battle. I'm like, yo, this is ludicrous. This is unprecedented. I was losing my shit. I cried when Captain America got the hammer. I didn't know what to do with my body when I saw just everybody fighting. I was just like nerd overload. And eventually Captain Marvel comes in to help, and she crashes through Thanos' ship, and she starts fighting with Thanos. And eventually Iron Man gets a hold of the new Iron Man Stark Tech Infinity Gauntlet, and he says, "I'm Iron Man," and snaps and makes Thanos and all his peeps fucking disappear. Another detail is that Thanos' ship just fucking blasts Avengers HQ. Nebula shoots old Nebula, and old Gamora is now in the present. She doesn't recognize Peter Quill, which I thought was pretty entertaining. But yeah, like, Iron Man does a snap, and he's just fucking catatonic, and he's just fucking stuck, and it's a good thing Spider-Man got the hug in, and Spider-Man's like, "You did it, Mr. Stark," and Pepper Potts is like, "You can rest now, honey," and he dies, and it's one of the fucking beautiful, most saddest things I've ever fucking seen ever. I was crying so much, and then they had his funeral, and we see his little girl saying, "I want cheeseburgers," which he wanted when he came back from Afghanistan, being stuck in a fucking cave by terrorists. And then we have his hollow message, very much like he had in the beginning of the movie and back in Civil War when he was thinking about sad experience. Oh shit! I forgot about when they trying to get another stone for fucking. Captain America and Iron Man, they go back to the 70s. We have a great fucking cameo of Hippy Dippy Stan Lee saying, "Don't make war, make love," and shit like that. And we have Iron Man, seeing his father back in the day, and that Iron Man's about to be born soon, and I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? And Captain America is able to look over Peggy, and just like, oh my god, I miss her so much. Back on the Shield thing, and we see a de-aged Ant-Man making Pym particles. They're able to get Pym particles. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? This is insane. So anyway, they defeat Thanos. All of his minions and him. They're done. We have an amazing funeral where we got everybody, mourning over the loss and remembering how great, Iron Man, Tony Stark had been to them. Great callback because it has the first arc reactor, proof that Iron Man does have a heart. Oh God. Woo. And we have other characters talking, but the main thing that this movie ends on is that Captain America goes back in time, and he decides to live out his life with Peggy, and he becomes an old man that's just on a bench, and Falcon goes over to see him, and he has his shield, and he sounds old, he looks old, and it's just like, wow, like they did some amazing work on Chris Evans' face to make him look like a really old man. And he decides to give up his shield to Sam, and Bucky says, yeah, you can take it. And I'm just like, oh my god. And we get a short, alternate universe flashback when he's like dancing. He finally got that dance with Peggy Carter. Like, oh my god, that's fucking beautiful. Now, I already had been cried out by this point, so I'm just like, that's beautiful. I couldn't cry over that. There was so much going on. I'm probably going to cry now because it's just so fucking awesome. But there's so much going on, and I'm just like, yo, this movie obviously deserves a fucking A+. I'm definitely want to see it again to like rank it up with my top 5 movies. But trust me, this movie is fucking insane, and it's just, oh my god. It was a little slow, but in the beginning, but it needed to be, and I'm glad that they had the time to breathe before they just start, going in on us. Like, oh shit. So, tell me what y'all think. This movie is fucking amazing. It's mind blowing. Nothing has been done quite like this. It is ludicrous and is perfect send off for these characters. Like, if they had never made another MCU movie after this one, I wouldn't be that upset, because the send off they do is fucking poetic as all, like, I don't even know what word to use. Like, it's just that magical. Like, this movie, especially when I talk about some science, blah blah blah, this movie is magical. And not just because it has Doctor Strange and his homies in it, like Wong. So tell me what y'all think. You know I love you. See you next time. As part of the Critics, you know I love you.